Okay, we'll read the translation and the purport. Translation. When the ruling administrators, who are known as the Kshatriyas, turned astray from the path of the absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord, in his incarnation as the sage Parashurama, uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as thorns of the earth. Thus he thrice, 7 times, uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keenly sharpened chopper. Purport. The Kshatriyas, or the ruling administrators of any part of the universe, either on this planet or on other planets, are factually the representatives of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, and they are meant to lead the subjects towards the path of God realization. Every state and its administrators, regardless of the nature of the administration, monarchy or democracy, oligarchy or dictatorship or autocracy, have the prime responsibility to lead the citizens towards God realization. This is essential for all human beings, and it is the duty of the Father, the spiritual master, and ultimately the state to take up the responsibility of leading the citizens towards this end. The whole creation of material existence is made for this purpose, just to give a chance to the fallen souls who rebelled against the will of the Supreme Father and thus became conditioned by material nature. The force of material nature gradually leads one to a hellish condition of perpetual pains and miseries. Those going against the prescribed rules and regulations of conditional life are called Brahmojita Pathas, or persons going against the path of the Absolute Truth, and they are liable to be punished. Lord Parshuram, the incarnation of the Personality of Godhead, appeared in such a state of worldly affairs and killed all the miscreant kings 21 times. Many Kshatriya kings fled from India to other parts of the world at that time. And according to the authority of the Mahabharata, the kings of Egypt originally migrated from India because of Parashurama's program of chastisement. The kings or administrators are similarly chastised in all circumstances whenever they become godless and plan a godless civilization. That is the order of the Almighty. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srimad Bhagavatam is detailing, outlining the various different incarnations of Lord Krishna. And of course the purpose is to tell us Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, just like Lord Brahma, the authority in this universe. He explains, after he meets Govinda, he explains that Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavataran Karod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So there's many different incarnations, and it's particularly there. Srila Prabhupada translates, or rather it's Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates it as being Lord Rama, Lord Nrsimha Dasa. These two incarnations are said to have very high qualities in comparison with Krishna, who has all 64 qualities to an unlimited degree. So there's practically unlimited incarnations, but still it's said that Krishna is the source of all these incarnations. And he gives another example in the Brahma Samhita as well. He says, Deepachireva hi dashantarma abhipetya Deepayate vivrata hetu samana dharma Yastadrageva hich vishnu taya vibhati Govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Just like if you light a candle using one candle, and then that candle which was lit, you light so many other candles with that, right? Still, there's a difference between the original candle, which was used to light all the other candles. Even though all the candles that look exactly the same, they illuminate the room exactly the same way, they give off light, they give off heat. So all of Krishna's incarnations, they also have, they're plenary. So it means that they have invested within them, potentially, all the opulences and the qualities and the strength and everything, beauty, wealth, fame, renunciation that Krishna has. But still, all these qualities originally manifest in Krishna himself. And Srila Prabhupada often quotes the example of there being as many incarnations of Lord Krishna as there are waves in the ocean. So last time I was traveling, I think it was New Zealand, I was going there for second initiation, and I was looking as we were traveling over the sea, over the ocean between Australia and New Zealand, and I actually looked down and actually remembered that statement that Srila Prabhupada mentions. And usually when we go to the beach, we go to the seashore, and we just see the waves coming and breaking on the sand, right? That's it. And we think, okay, so these are the waves of the ocean. But if you're actually flying on an airplane, if you actually look down in the ocean, there's practically unlimited waves. There's waves coming and going, there's big waves, there's small waves, there's waves going diagonally, crashing against each other. It's just like you see a vast ocean of blue, and then there's just all these white lines everywhere. So many waves. So I got the realization that, wow, Krishna, Gopinath, such a, he's just a simple cowherd boy, but he's a source of unlimited incarnations, ferocious incarnations. In this example, Lord Parshuram is a very ferocious incarnation. He came, of course, to establish authority in society, in following Krishna's system, which Krishna has created, which is Chaturvarnam maya shishtam guna karma vibhagasha tasya kartaram apimam vidya akartaram aveyam. Right? Krishna has created the system of varnashram to gradually elevate human society in their consciousness and in their work and their qualities, to gradually come to the mode of goodness. And ahar shuddhau sattva shuddhi dhruva smriti lambe sarva granthinam vipramoksha. It's mentioned that mode of goodness starts with your food. So if you eat food which is in the mode of goodness, particularly milk, in this case, then what happens? Ahar shuddhau sattva shuddhi. So your intelligence becomes gradually purified. Sattva shuddhi dhruva smriti, your memory of what you're supposed to be doing here and who you are. And your intelligence, your memory, your mind, as they become purified, your subtle body becomes purified, then you can actually, from that platform, springboard to transcendence. So the mood of goodness is a springboard to go to the platform of transcendence. Srila Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit in Canto 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam in one of his purports. And there he explains that all the different living entities, they actually become attractive when they exhibit their natural qualities. Like if a crow was to parade around and try to exhibit its beauty, would that be appreciated? Would it? No. Why? A crow is not considered to be a very beautiful bird. But if a peacock did that, right, or a parrot did that, very colorful birds, then one can appreciate it. So Chanakya Pandit gives the example of a cuckoo, right? A cuckoo is just a bird which it's not very colorful, it just has just a single color. And apparently it doesn't look very beautiful. But if a cuckoo was to try to please someone or attract someone through its beauty, it wouldn't be much appreciated. But how is a cuckoo appreciated? By its singing. So if the cuckoo exhibits its natural quality of singing, then one can appreciate the cuckoo. And then he gives the example of a woman or a wife. We all know that material beauty is fleeting, it's temporary. So that physical beauty is actually not the real beauty, Chanakya mentions, of the opposite sex. Rather, if a woman exhibits her natural beauty of shyness and chastity, then that's considered to be very attractive. Or he gives another example of a person who is a scholar but not very handsome. Okay, so if someone who's ugly, if they try to prove themselves as being very attractive, then that's not appreciated. But when they speak transcendental knowledge, when they speak very lofty knowledge, then people brush aside what they look like, perhaps, and they appreciate the knowledge which is coming from their mouths. So the point he's trying to make is that if you exhibit a quality which is natural to you, you become attractive. And not only to people in general, but to Krishna as well. Just like if you're good at singing, you sing for Krishna. If you're good at deity worship, you serve the deity, etc. So you can engage, at least on a beginning level in devotional service, you can engage your natural qualities, your natural opulences that you've been given according to your karma in Krishna's service. But then he mentions, similarly, if the different varnas in the varnashram system follow their qualities properly, that's how they attract the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If the Brahmanas actually act like Brahmanas, they'll please Krishna. If the Kshatriyas act like Kshatriyas, they'll please Krishna. Atha pumbir dvija sheshta varnashram vibhagasha. Then? Svanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshna. That's the whole purpose of varnashram system. Is that you're supposed to be acting like a Brahmana, you're supposed to be acting like a Kshatriya. But here we see that Lord Parshuram, he killed the Kshatriyas because they were not acting like the Kshatriyas, and therefore they were displeasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And authorities established that Lord Parshuram is a Shaktya Vesha of Krishna, just like Prithu Maharaj. He's a Shaktya Vesha of Krishna, and he displayed the opulence of ruling, the ruling potency of Krishna. He was a great ruler. And he established law and order in society. So similarly, Lord Parshuram exhibits that quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to establish religious principles and order within social justice, essentially, social justice. When the different varnas step over their lines and they're not following varnashram system properly, then Parshuram came to administer justice, particularly to the Brahmanas. And if we want to actually understand what he did, why he did it, we have to understand the story behind it, actually. So, actually, before going to that, does anyone remember the qualities of the Brahmanas, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita? Shamo, Dhamma, Tapa, Shocham, because it's essential to understand this particular story. Shamo, Dhamma, Tapa, Shocham, Kshantir, Arjamam, Evacha, Jnana, Vijnana, Astikyam, Brahma, Karma, Sambhavajam. So what is Shama? Peacefulness. That's Shama. Shamo is peacefulness. Dhamma is Tapa, Shocham. Okay, then Kshantir, tolerance. Arjavam, simplicity or humility? Simplicity. Shantir, Arjavam, Evacha, Jnana, Vijnana, we know. Yes, to cultivate knowledge for oneself and give knowledge to others. The religious principles of a Brahmana are Patan, Patan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Pratigraha. And then, Jnana Vijnanam Astikyam. Religiosity. It's a duty of a Brahmana to be religious. And then Kshatriyas, because here the whole Parshuram saga is a rivalry between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. Parshuram was a Brahmana, but he killed the Kshatriyas because they stepped over the line. So Kshatriyas, how are they supposed to act? What does Krishna say? What is their qualities? Anyone remember that verse? 18th chapter? Shauryam tejo dhritir daksham yuddhecha palayanam dhanam ishvara bhavasya kshatram karma swabhavajam. And that's a nice word, swabhava. Right? Swabhava means your own quality that you have developed. Swa means yourself. Bhava means your state of being. Right? Your state of being. So swabhava, these are the qualities which are attributed only to that particular vana. So they're not really present in the Brahmanas. They're not really present in the Vaishyas or the Shudras. This is something which is unique to that varna. So Shauryam, which is, I don't know, heroism. Shauryam. Tejo, strength or brilliance. Dhritir, determinant. Daksham, not charitable, but Daksham means very expert. Shauryam tejo dhritir daksham yuddhecha palayanam. Huh? Yuddhe means fight. Pala means to run. Apala, to not flee from battle. Then dhanam, charitable. Ishvara bhava. No need to translate that one. Right? So, and apparently Arjuna himself was not following religious principles. Right? What did Arjuna want to do? He wanted to not follow the principle of yuddhecha palayanam. He wanted to flee from the battle. I don't want to fight Krishna. Because I respect my family members, and even though they've acted against religious principles, they've broken all the principles which Shastra says that you're allowed to kill the other person because they've acted impiously, like, burning someone, kidnapping someone's wife, occupying someone else's land, attacking with deadly weapons. So the Kauravas have done all of that. Still, Arjuna doesn't want to attack them out of mature sentiment. Of course, he's covered by the Atma Maya of Krishna, but he didn't want to act like a Kshatriya, even though he was supposed to set an example. So Krishna was for that or against that? Obviously, Krishna was against that, though Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Lord Parshuram didn't speak the Bhagavad Gita. What did he do? He got his sharpened chopper and he just killed the Kshatriyas. So sometimes that's necessary to maintain dharma samstapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So sometimes Krishna comes like that. So the story there is that Parshuram's father, does anyone know what his name is? Jamanagni. So Jamanagni had what in possession? He had a Kamadhenu. And there's this really mighty, mighty king. Like you think Ravana is powerful, right? That Krishna had to incarnate himself as Lord Ram. And he had to cross the ocean to get to Lanka with an army of practically millions and millions and millions of monkeys to defeat Ravana. Now we think Ravana with 10 heads is so powerful. There's a king called Kartaviri Arjuna who put Ravana to shame. He defeated Ravana just like that. Ravana was so upset actually. So such a king, along with his army, he came to the hermitage of Jamadagni. And he saw that this Brahmana, Jamanagni, had within his possession something very valuable. It was a Kamadhenu. And what did Kartaviri Arjuna say to his soldiers? Does anyone remember? He says, I want to perform karma kanda sacrifices. Okay? Karma kanda sacrifices so that I can enjoy in this world. I can increase my power, my influence, my position. If I can steal this Kamadhenu cow from this Brahmana, I can, achieve great things for myself. Now, here we have a Kshatriya who is supposed to be very charitable, who's supposed to kshatriyo hi praja rakshan, right? The duty of a kshatriya is to protect his citizens. And Prabhupada says subtly also from lust. But here we see that Kartaviri Arjuna is himself influenced by lust. He is himself influenced by fame, prosperity in this world. Sahayagya prajashishta puravacha prajapati anena prasavishadam eshavastvisha kamaduk. Right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead put forth generations of men, demigods, and said to them, perform yagya, and you can gain liberation, but at the same time you can fulfill all your material desires, your kama. Eshvo stvishta kamaduk. And isn't it kamaduk, doesn't that refer to the kamadenu as well? I think Prabhupada mentions somewhere that it refers to that kamadenu as well. So if you, this is not coming from any acharyas or Srila Prabhupada's commentary, but I was just thinking about the whole thing. And it looks like, see, this kamadenu, it's a cow, and a cow is a very innocent animal. And Kartaviri Arjuna, he's after getting that cow, capturing that cow for himself so that he can fulfill all of his desires. Right? So sometimes we also are in the position of Kartaviri Arjuna. We think that material desires are very innocent. And if I can just take them for myself, if I can just fulfill them, then I will be very happy in this world, if I can fulfill my material desires. But what happened after Kartaviri Arjuna stole the Kamadenu? What happened? What did Parshuram do? He got his chopper axe and he killed Kartaviri Arjuna. He killed him. That great king, he killed him. So, the Kamadenu is put in the custody of a person who can engage that Kamadenu in the proper way. The Brahmana, Jamadagni, was using that Kamadenu for the performance of sacrifices for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? To get the ghee and the milk, and then when Brahmanas would come and they would partake of the remnants, then the Kamadenu would provide so much food stuff for all the people. But Kartaviri Arjuna did not want to use that Kamadenu for that purpose. He wanted to increase his opulence and his sense gratification as well. And as a result of that, because he was not acting like a Kshatriya and giving protection to the Brahmanas, Parshuram killed him. Later, what happened is the sons of Kartaviri Arjuna, who were also Kshatriyas, what did they do? They wanted to seek revenge. So when Parshuram was out of the ashram of Jamadagni, while Jamadagni was engaged in tapasya and meditation, the sons of Kartaviri Arjuna, they came into the hermitage and they beheaded Jamadagni. Then Parshurama used that as an excuse. His father's death he used as an excuse to not only kill the sons of Kartaviri Arjuna, but to kill the Kshatriyas 21 times over. Can you imagine how long that would have taken to kill the entire Kshatriya dynasties 21 times? Right? Like, okay, let's say if Parshuram comes now and he kills, if there are Kshatriyas, if he kills all the Kshatriyas, and then you have to wait till they populate again, and then again he goes on a killing spree, and then they populate again. Like that, he did 21 times. He killed all the generations of the Kshatriyas. And this is something we find time and time again in the Shastra, at least 2 more times I can think of, where Kshatriyas are not acting like Kshatriyas, and they are particularly stealing the Kamadenu. Does anyone remember any other instance where Kshatriya came along and stole a Kamadenu from a Brahmana? Vishwamitra, right? So Vishwamitra, he was a king, and he came and he saw Vashishta sitting there in his ashram. Very simple Brahmana, engaged in tapasya, engaged in his svabhava. But because Vashishta was very anxious to become more powerful, because he saw Vashishta as being more powerful than him, because he had the Kamadenu. So he came, and there was a big war, and from the Kamadhenu came many soldiers to protect Vashishta's hermitage. And Vashishta, even though he had such a strong and mighty army, he could not defeat this single lone Brahmana. So what did Vashishta do? He said, to hell with being a Kshatriya, let me become a Brahmana as well. And he tried to become the best Brahmana, a Brahma Rishi, like that. So, and along the way we know that he fell prey as well to lust and to anger as well. So that's another instance where a Kshatriya came along and went against his Swabhava to challenge a Brahmana who was perfectly engaged in his Swabhava. There's one more instance that I could think of. Can anyone think of any other instance in Shastra? It's actually from Mahabharata. Prabhupada is saying Mahabharata here. Remember Bhisma in his previous life? Who was Bhisma in his previous life? Sorry? He was one of the 8 Vasus. One of the 8 principal demigods. And what happened is one day, these Vasus, they were going, traveling around, and they saw again the same Brahmana, the same Vashishta with this Kamadhenu. And Bhishma, who was a Vasu, his consort said to him, wouldn't it be nice if I could have this Kamadhenu in my possession? It'd be so nice. Please, get this Kamadhenu for me. And then he was saying no, yes, no, yes. And then somehow all the Vasus, they conspired against Vashishta to steal this Kamadhenu from him. And what happened as a result? They were cursed. And they were cursed to be born on this earth as the sons of Mother Ganga. But why is it that Bhishma lived such a long duration of lifetime while the other Vasus, they died straight away? Mother Ganges, she drowned them straight away. Because the whole incident, the whole conspiracy to steal the Kamadhenu from Vashishta was actually impelled by Bhishma himself. He's the one that actually went and stole the Kamadhenu from Vashishta. So his curse was that not only will he take birth as the son of Mother Ganga, but because he was the main perpetrator, he would have to live a very long duration of life in this earth. So sometimes we glorify Bhishma's lifetime, right? It's, he has Ichha Maran, right? He lived a very long lifespan. But actually, if you analyze the issue, his long lifetime was initially a curse. Because in his previous lifetime, of course, Bhishma is a Mahabhagavat, but according to Leela, we should understand that he came because in his previous life, he went against his Swabhava and he stole a Kamadhenu. So that's something really interesting, and how the Kshatriyas always come and they steal from Brahmanas this Kamadhenu to increase their Ishvara Bhava, their Shauryam, Tejo, Dhritir, Daksham. So these qualities are supposed to be used, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, to guide the society towards understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that the whole creation of material existence is simply made for this purpose, to give a chance to the fallen conditioned souls who have rebelled against the will of the Supreme Father and thus became conditioned by material nature. But when the state, when the government, whether it's oligarchy or democracy or whatnot, monarchy, if they are against this principle of leading the praja to liberation, then that displeases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he comes to establish law and order. And just a final point, something very interesting, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, that he says that the kings of Egypt originally migrated from India when Parshuram came. So in another purport, I think it's the one Hunandra Pulkasha, that one, Prabha Vishnave Nama. In that shloka, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the Pulindras, or the Greeks, they also were initially Kshatriyas. They were following the Varnashram system because they were scared of Parshuram. Then so many kings who were initially in Bharatavarsha, they fled and they went westwards. And that's why if you actually, so I did a little bit of ancient history, and you actually see that if you analyze these ancient cultures like the Roman Empire, the Egyptian Empire, civilization, if you analyze the Greeks like the Spartans even, they are actually following Varnashram system. They have the Shudra class, like the Shudra class in the Greek system, they're called helots. And then you have the ephors, which are like the Brahmanas. And then you have the kings as well. And there's a council of Brahmanas, there's a council of ephors, which actually advise the kings on how to run the government. And if you look at Spartan culture, they even have, the guru system, actually. They're a military state, so what happens is that the young child at the age of 4 or 5 was sent to the guru, and till same thing, like 20, 25, they were trained simply in warfare. But that same idea is there if you look at ancient cultures. They all believed in many gods as well. So Vedic culture understands there are many demigods. So there's very similar traits in all ancient cultures. So that's another, you can say it's another proof that the Vedic civilization was prevalent all throughout the world at that point in time. So it's past 8:30, so we'll finish here. Thank you very much, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.